broader leverage in its relationship with Russia?
Well, the Ukraine war has really played into China's hands when it comes to its relationship with Russia. The sanctions that have been placed on Russia by Western governments, these kind of very sort of inevitable process now where Europe, especially, is disentangling itself from gas, has left Russia with a really difficult long-term problem, which is, where's our market for all this gas that we have that is an essential part of our economy? So from the Russian perspective, it needs to become a kind of resource colony to China. But the Chinese aren't so keen necessarily. And you mentioned the pipeline. The Russians really touted this pipeline again in this week's meetings, but the Chinese have not signed off on it yet. And that's because partially they don't necessarily want to be totally dependent on Russia the way Europe was. And they have other options in terms of diversifying their supply.
But how should we think about Beijing's weakness here? Its economy, we know, is wobbly. It's not going to grow the way it did years ago. And I lived there for several years. There was continuous fretting that they didn't have enough natural resources, not enough water, not enough arable land, certainly not enough energy.
I mean, it has a huge appetite, absolutely. It needs to accelerate its transition away from dirty coal, especially but it is on many levels also setting trends when it comes to using renewables, and its mix and its energy mix is a bit different than economies in the West. So I don't think it's necessarily that weak in terms of, it doesn't go to Russia, hat in hand. It's actually in a situation where Russia is becoming, partially because of the effects of the war in Ukraine, fundamentally a kind of Chinese vassal.
Yeah. 5 decades ago, Richard Nixon went to China, and eventually the U.S., as we know, lured Beijing out of the Soviet Union's orbit into the U.S. orbit. And now, when you look at these three-way superpower relations, is it Xi Jinping doing the triangulating?
That's a really interesting way to frame it.
Okay, enough of that. That was just enough for you to hear the narrative, right? And the narrative is totally not what's going on. China's dead man walking. So is Russia. So is the United States. So is the EU. And what we are looking at is, Gene Roddenberry's being, they all belong to this union, this, what do they call it? Not a union. It was the Federation of Planets, right? And that's where we're going, right? And we have been bred, right, as a warrior class, right? Just look around. That's all we can do is threaten each other, right? And I live in this little piece of, bucolic nature preserve heaven in the very squarely corner of Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, right? All within about 70 miles. And there's this gigantic ley line that goes right through my property, and it because this is Sawtooth Mountains, that got accordioned. That ley line that was a few hundred miles under the ground got squeezed up, goes right through my backyard, right across the road. Energetically, it turns this accordion into a scalar amplifier and generator. So it does. I mean, last Thursday, here it is Thursday. Last Thursday, it was 19 degrees. Today, it's 80. Tomorrow is going to be 90, right? God knows what it'll be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But I would say we've had not, this was a rainforest when I came here. We had rain pretty much every last 3 or 4 weeks, cloudy and rainy, but not a rainforest rain, right? Rainforest rain means there's a squall, 10, 20 squalls that kind of cruise through your neighborhood every day. We get, rain maybe
During.
during a few times in the evening, basically. Anyway, so which is fine by me. But the cockroaches from California, all the people who were consuming, they really didn't do anything for their community. They worked in an office, they had business, they consumed. Their business consumed resources to manufacture or bring a service, consumed, right? And most of those businesses, if you had a restaurant, that could be construed while you're manufacturing something to eat. So that's, that is a positive. And depending on if you, listen to public radio and a guy has the cooking show, Spoon or something, whatever it is, if there are a lot of really great restaurants. Like I just had breakfast in one great restaurant and lunch in another, and the lunch was a Thai noodle vegetable stir fry, excellent, and the other was the down home holler, one of the last holler restaurants, and that lady was smart enough to pick up her. She had a holler restaurant in a holler and was really successful, but it was dependent on holler folk. And when the guy who was her landlord said, "Oh, I want to raise your rent," she said, "Fine," and just kind of said, "I don't need to get it." No, thanks. She saved her money, and she started. She waited for this one spot in town. That was a good restaurant spot. Nice parking, not in town, but not in town. Everyone can get to it, and she got that. She cleaned it up. It had been sitting around for 2 years. And she got it right at the right time where the guy said, okay, you can rent it. She got it for a long lease and a really good price. She put some money to spank it up, and she's doing great. So I had a really great breakfast. My little breakfast talk was with you, and had a nice breakfast sandwich with grits and coffee, $8. Can't beat it, right? Now, if I cook it for myself, it costs me $1, if that, right? But it's nice. They have really good Wi-Fi. I have my table there. Everyone loves me. I talk to folk, and you might have heard my conversations. I am the I kind of perk up the conscience of the community. Do you hear about this? What do you think about that, right? And basically, we are going through what China is going through, what Russia's going through. United States and most people in the United States don't realize, the people on the border. Well, NAFTA made Mexico part of America and Canada part of America. And when we go through this reset, we will be one country. And all those folks, the most productive workers on the face of the earth are the Mexican workers that work in the factories in that, 200 square mile section where things can come and go like it was New Jersey. Parts get manufactured, brought up to this place in America, gets put together, then sent to Canada. That's then kind of finished and then sent over to the assembly line, put into a car in South Carolina. And that is what's going to happen. The United States is going to be the center of high cost manufacturing. And a good deal of that will be done by robots, and the robots will also take over all automobiles, all trucking, anything on wheels will be run by a robot, right? Because the costs will go way down and the productivity will go way up, and the safety will be almost 100%. The railroad companies, the shipping companies, all the rest will take on that because the government will guarantee them a super profit and will take over and make sure that it's safe, just like the airlines is. Yes, there is a lot of corruption there, and planes go down. The MAX 10 is a good example of something that shouldn't have happened, but did. and the Dreamliner 2 and all of that. And what's going on in the Ukraine and what's going on with Brexit. Brexit had more to do with Airbus than anything else, because by Brexit happening, it made Airbus killed it, right? The only real competitor to Boeing in commercial aircraft was Airbus, and that's gone because of Brexit. And it was done as part of this transnational, unipolar, fascist oligarchy which rules the planet and has since Babylonian times. And we are now at this amazing crossroads that God, who has always been our unconditional loving heart, and Jesus, that has always been our unconditional forgiving conscious, that's always been there. And the thing that is different is our egocentric mud puppet body, avatar, bag of water. That was we are that this is the robot, the little reptile worm came to Earth and took over, but didn't take over our spirit, right? It just corrupted our soul and gave us an illusion of a reality through materialism, right? So I died in 2014, but I kind of knew I was on that path. In 91, when I left Cornell and did an ethnography for the Biltmore House, right, for the federal government and the state government of North Carolina, to put Biltmore House back into its old glory days and make it as the anchor for tourism in Asheville, and not only Asheville, but these whole Appalachian Mountains, right? And that's what's going, killing the culture that was here, killing, everything from Blacksburg, Tech, all the way to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. That whole mountain range, that whole accordion, Sawtooth Mountain range of the Appalachian, which includes, the Appalachian Mountains and the Blue Ridge and Ohio Valley and, the Virginia Valley, whatever they call that, just 3 valleys there. But it kind of goes from the top of the hill, which is Kingsport. That's why it's King. It's at the top. Kingsport all the way down to Washington, D.C. There are 3 valleys, right? And Kingsport was the center. It was where plastics were invented. That's why GE, Westinghouse, Kodak Chemical, DuPont, Monsanto, all the rest were here, right? Like from the Civil War on, right? Making gunpowder. There were all these exotic minerals. There was a lot of coal. There were a lot of few other things, but there was many, 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 many little mines of these exotic materials, right? Bakelite, right? And other carbon crystalline entities, right? So that's Micaville, right? And Little Switzerland, and Banner Elk, and Blowing Rock, and Boone, and Johnson City, where ETSU is, right? And Elizabethton and Hampton. These were all these towns that were the, what we would consider the Silicon Valley, right? What our Silicon Valley, which is, the place of innovation and change of technology. That was here, not New York, not Chicago, not Philly, not St. Louis. Those were cities of industry and transportation. And the South was the center of raw materials grown, rice, cotton, rice, tobacco, sugar, um, corn, wheat, and between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, we grow more food than any place else, even Australia. Australia ate itself because, it's a continent. It had a topsoil of unbelievable loam and diversity. Look, it has kangaroos and platypuses, say no more, right? So koala bears, and its flora was as diverse too. And the English killed it in less than 200 years. Because they brought in sheep and cows to have this unbelievable sprinkler system of rain that comes in. And if they just, let it just grew vegetables, right? And forgot the cows and the sheep, or kept them in, and there were certain areas that would have worked, but not to just let them roam. Australia would be in a different place. Now they're digging up all the coal and rare earth elements and other things out of that, which is the soul of Australia. And again, this little place that I live is the ground zero of when you mess with the spirit, it will eat you alive. Now, I have all these cockroaches come in and threatening me, with they scream at me if I stop on my own driveway, and then they park in front of it and play their radio loud, right? And stay there for an hour or two while they smoke a cigarette, Now that could make you annoyed, but God is constantly saying, hey, you've had 20 years here. It's been beautiful. But if these morons weren't here, you'd want to spend another 20 years here? Okay, they're right. So somebody will buy it. I will go. I'm just trying to negotiate the best way out of here, right? So that's what it is. And so that's how I'm going. And all I can say is it's I've been very blessed to be here, right? And I'm very blessed to be a servant of God, right? Now, I can, as a itinerant scholar, I can get all caught up in particulars. I was having lunch. I don't know if you caught it, but this group of the cockroaches are very nice. They can be very nice people. These people came in. They were obviously, I looked out the window. They had, North Carolina plates and, that said they, the University of Charlotte. They look like teachers, retired teachers, right? But they're still cockroaches. They still have that motif of imperialism, right? Of the system, right? And, they came in, and I knew that they probably bought some property because the reason they found out about this little restaurant out in the middle of nowhere was they were in Johnson City, which is a big college town, and they were in a store, which is a kind of exotic store. It's almost a restaurant supply, but it's not really. It has everything Asian, not just Chinese, not just Japanese, but Indian and everything Asian, right? And everything you could imagine. It's a big store. So they sell, rice cookers and silverware and you name it, And so because most of those Asian folk, what do? They start a restaurant. So but anybody can buy stuff. So these people from North Carolina were in there poking around, and they met the lady who has this Thai restaurant out in the middle of nowhere, and they came. It was somebody's birthday, and anyway, they came and they said, "Oh, what are you eating?" And I was having this thing, a noodle dish. Sometimes I get tired of the rice, but the rice dishes, the combo dish is $12, but the noodle dish is almost, it's $19, right? So that's a big expense for me. But my buddy makes a big plate, knowing that I'll take half of it home with me and eat it for the next 3 days. And his sister, I got her into drying things and to air frying. Like they make a lot of cabbagey stuff, and so the big outside leaves, um, they kind of don't use. They're too hard to cook up. They peel about the first tenth off, and then they cut up the inside. So anyway, I said, so you should stick those leaves in your air dryer, and so they did. And when you do that, it turns those leaves into the best French fries you ever had, the best potato chips you ever had. They're just crisp and thin and really good for you, right? So she's like, wow. And she's been doing that to all the vegetables like that, the parts that are hard and not easy to chop up and then steam right away. She's been throwing them there, and it's amazing. And so they're turning them into garnishes and side dishes, and so I keep giving them stuff and fruit. They have a lot of fruit, and I said, so the part of the fruit that turns black, after you make your mango this, your pineapple that, your whatever apple this, once it turns black, take that big slice and slice it into as thin a slices as they have a nice whatever starts with an M that can slice real thin, things like that, and then put that in your air dryer, or squish them together and then put it into the air dryer. Make a paste out and then make little squares and put that in your air fryer. And she does, and it's amazingly good. I don't know. So she's always sticking those things on my meal. Yeah, I pay the full Monty, but they constantly give me a little extra this, that, because I'm always giving them good ideas, giving them good things to talk to, and they like talking about it, but they don't want to think about it. The mother, she's probably 15 years younger than I am, and she got out of Thailand during the war, because see, most people don't realize that the you know what part of that Southeast Asia war, which was not just Vietnam, but Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, right? Those wars did not really finish up until the 80s, until Ronald Reagan. And so, Jimmy Carter started it off in 76 when, he basically said, okay, Vietnam's not our enemy, and all the guys who ran up to Canada can come back home, and we're gonna have semi good relations with Vietnam, and they did. They brought in the diplomats, and so the war in um, Vietnam was not with us anyway, because China had a war with Vietnam, and Vietnam kicked their freaking ass. A place of a billion people going up against a country of I don't know, 20 probably million folk, probably less than that. We killed a lot. We killed 6 million Vietnamese, right? And today, or around today, is the 20th anniversary of going into Iraq. And it was like everyone said, "Oh, it was the biggest. Oh, we showed you there were no weapons of mass destruction." Yes, and they knew it right off the bat because we sold them their weapons of mass. Good on Rumsfeld sell them the weapons of mass destruction, right? Number one, right? And good on Halliburton, built most of their oil infrastructure, right? And there was no, Sunni, Shiite. There was no civil war. We fostered that. The Ba'athist Party, which was also in Syria, it was it's like communism. It was Arab nationalism, and the Sunnis never had any real identity. That's why the Ba'athist Party was put together and why it was in two different countries, right? It just basically was an organizational structure that enabled, the guy in Syria and Saddam to, have a bit of nationalism in their neighborhood. And that was one reason why we took those guys out. And the reason why we took Libya was the most successful at doing it. Libya didn't join anybody. He basically looked out for his own people, and he did a really good job. And that's why he was doing what Little Rocket Man is doing with the atomic bomb. He wanted to have his own little atomic bomb. He wasn't going to put it on a missile. He was going to just blow it up underground. See, I got one of these. Don't mess with me. And that's what come on, little Rocket Man cannot threaten. But he is, if he wasn't there, we'd have to, because we invented him. Virtually every war we've had since the Revolutionary War, we lost that. But England left. Oh, we won. They came back in 1812. So now you do what we tell you. And we did ever since. Fought in every one of their wars, came to their rescue every time. We're always the guy with a white hat, So, that's what we did in Iraq. We blew it up. We took a highly developed, industrial, well-educated, well-housed, well-employed, lots of hospitals, lots of resources. They were growing their own food. They were taking a page from Mr. Libya, and we blew it all up. The first, 2 months, we blew. We didn't really go after material weapons. We went after water, electric, hospitals, communicate, TV stations. We just, and then we rode in there. And we got rid of their police and their army. Everything that gave them any sense of order, we got rid of, right? So all the crooks could come out of the cupboard, and the Ba'athists, all of it, we put them so far down, we turned them into ISIS. And just look at everything that we have done since the revolution, every mistake, what we did with the indigenous people. Just think what America would have been if we shared. If we learned from the Indians what plants to grow and how to be part of nature. Can you just imagine what we'd be today? And we brought them, our essence of industriousness, right? And they slowed us down so we could appreciate nature. So that's what I'm going to try and do with the cockroaches here. But, as soon as I can get the best offer, I'm doing God's. I'm going to go. I have no idea. God keeps saying, "Don't worry about anything. I got your back. I got it covered. No problem." Right? And let's just see. Tomorrow. Two calls. Colonel Sanders, but I don't think I'm going to. He's down in Cockroach Father. And and listening to God. God just said, be patient. Don't stir the pot. Just prepare. That's one of the things God teaches us is to prepare. Take the time, slow down, see what's important, what's not. I mean, in the Bible, Esther is a great example of that. She prepares everything at big banquet, and she doesn't, she knows what's going on between her husband and this other high, I think it's Malachi or Melchizedek, or no, there's a Jewish guy who understands what's going on, and this, upper echelon guy is real pissed off and threatened by him and wants to get rid of him. And Esther knows all this. She just prepares the big feast and gets things ready for the outcome that will be delivered by God. And so that's what I have to do. I have to be patient. I have to follow God's will. I have to, and that's what I did organically when I was a young lad. Pretty much that's what I did. I never thought about it. I was the dude. I was perfect timing. I did what God told me to do without, asking questions or even thinking about it. I just did it, and I didn't really have myself, I never thought of myself. I mean, as little as one can do when one has a what do you call it? An ego, I take my coat off. It's starting to get toasty. Starting to get toasty. Uh, uh, yeah. So here we are out in the deep green. All of this behind me are lots. And see how steep it is? Some people have to, and this lot that my neighbor's on, he and I have the flattest of lot, but still it's pretty steep, meaning he still has this to contend with. I don't have this to contend with, right? So, but all of these lots have been sold in the last 2 years, about 30 of them. And about 5 people bought up more than half of all of them. So they're going to have 3 and 4 and 5 lots. So they build gigantic houses or whatever, right? And it'll be interesting. So that's what it is. And what you're going to find is, unless these people, because this place is so energetically dynamic in spirit, that unless these, and that's why I picked this place. I found it. I 22 years ago, I said to my banker, "Hey, I'm looking. You must hold some paper on some stuff you want to get rid of." He goes, "Oh yeah." So he showed a few things, and when he showed me this, I said, "Okay." And I found where I could get some water. I tested the water, and the guy said, "This is like the best water ever." And everything was in the ground, all the roads, everything was fert, and there was nobody here. I could do whatever the heck I wanted, which I did for 18 years. And then people started to show up and, we're going to turn it into a gated covenant. Oh, it's like something out of the Bible without anyone. And well, this is the Bible too. Pretty much all the characters in the Bible are all about their ego. They're all talking about God, but no one wants to and serving God. But I'm a priest, so serve me, and then I'll talk to God, right? No, it's our relationship. It's a theologic one, which is one where we have this kind of love in our heart, right? Anyway, so in every day, in every way, let's take the piece of the earth and make it stronger, right? And you don't have to worry about anything material. When you are, co-creating with love, everything works out. Whatever you need, you will have, right? So that's how I'm looking at it. Whatever you need, you'll have. So that's it. That's the idea. Let's see. I mean, I could go through the laundry list of all this stuff, but you've heard it before. Just go back and watch all my other shows. I mean, I got more than 2,000. Start looking at them, I mean, I do this because this is a shamanic ceremony. This is, good for my spirit, right? That's why I do it. It's good for your spirit. And you've told me this many times that, you like watching this like wallpaper. But of the 100 or so of what I call my adepts, people who actually call me, oh, have a real problem. I need help. I've been watching a bunch of your grown men really touch me. Help me. And so, I said, okay, we can do this. Do a little guided meditation, individual, one-on-one, and anyway, so all of this and all these trees are basically dying. They're all falling. I don't know if you can see all of those trees. There are about 20 trees there that have all fallen down in the last year or two. And that black line there is the race track that Colonel Sanders put in for his kids, not on his property. And I'm sure, see how close that is to I'm sure the people who are going to be staying here, because people with some money stay at this place, and I don't think they're going to want to hear all the time. So it's going to be interesting. So anyway, I can't think of anything else to say except I love you guys, and pray, ask God to give you strength to do His work, right? And every day in every way, let us all take the piece of the earth and make it stronger. It's the only way we're getting out of this thing. There aren't going to be no end times, and there ain't going to be no winners or losers, because we're all our relations. We're all in this together. So I just wanted to touch base. How much juice do we have here? Half a tank. But I really don't have much to say, and I don't want to just constantly go on about the same thing. Like I say, go back and watch my other shows. And, I don't have that much cash. If you act in, if you hear God say, "Hey, give Al Bob some cash on his PayPal," go give Al Bob something. The dude awake 42 at Gmail, dude awake 42 at Gmail, dude awake 42 at Gmail. And it always works. I always have what I need. And I have what I need. I mean, right now, I have like $40. I had the $8 for breakfast, and I had the $20 for lunch, and I put $2 in as a tip in each place. So that's $36, give or take, plus gas, and talking to you, right? So I had that, so I did it, and it helps, everybody. Those two restaurants enjoy my patronage, and the people who know that I'm there, who come and talk to me, enjoy that. But basically, majority of the folks who have been my adepts, they had made amazing progress, from the time they go, please help me, to now, or a little bit before now. And about 8 of them are like really doing hot, right? I have no idea what they're doing, but they are doing. Last time I talked, really amazing, right? And so they're really back into thinking it's them doing it. I mean, yeah. And that is the real Megillah, the real slippery slope. I've been at least aware enough to know I am a moron and that I'm here to serve God. Yes, things, in my life have been extraordinarily successful here, there, and everywhere. And I, when I had that run in the corporate world, hey, I didn't try to own the universe. I had a good time, and I didn't hurt anybody. Maybe everybody contact contact with, every corporate leader, every business person, every service person, everyone I talked to, I treated with love's co-creation and you know, help them be the best they could be because it made me look good, you know. So and it was very successful, right? And so that allowed me to set myself up here in the because I knew this was coming, you know, especially after I gained that first 100. I was already 260, and then I put on 100 pounds within 3 years of the corporate world. I said, okay, 100 pounds for every 3 years. What will 10 pounds put on me? So I knew that I was heading in a certain direction, but spiritually, I was sticking to my oath, right? That I was here to serve love's co-creation every day in every way, right? I did not, waver from that. And I also had, wasn't like, oh, I know what I'm doing, and no, basically was, in the hands of God, right? And pretty much, if God had said, "Stop doing this," I would have stopped doing it, which I did. When I died in 2014, and I went up to my life's review, which was by that time my third one. Um, they said, "Listen, you're doing a great job, but you got to go back." What? I said, well, yeah, you've done 89% of everything you said you'd do, and you got another 11% to go. So go on down. What? Okay, but you got a free will. You can choose. You want to stay here for the next millennium, and just and where I was having my life review was in the basement cafeteria of this Catholic school I went to for a very short time before a nun murdered me. And I was there, and I had that little hat on my head, and balloons everywhere, and a sheet cake saying "Welcome home." And but my master said, know, go back, and you'll be able to do it. We don't give you anything that you can't do. And my masters, when I use that term master, they think, what are you talking about, God? Or not? No, I'm talking about my teachers, Akasha K and Billy Kluver and a few others who all crossed over. They were in body. They were my teachers. They were my senseis. They were my and they were. I had the same kind of relation that Luke had with Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's the kind. That's, he's a master. He's not God. No. So. Um, So that's what I was, experiencing. And they said, you got to go down. You got 11% to do, Well, what am I supposed to do? I said, so did you know what you were supposed to do in that other 89%? And I said, nope, didn't have a clue. But God was always telling me what to do. And they said, well, that won't stop. Now, God isn't like, hey, Al, why don't you go do this? No, basically. So my little squirrely part, my moron self was, oh my God, these guys, how can I protect myself? What should I do? Oh, they're so, mean and blah, blah, blah. Oh, they threaten me all the time and they do all these annoying things. All that cars, all the pollution. What could I do? And what does God tell me? Don't worry about it. I got your back. You need to go off and do what you do. What do I do? I talk to people. I'm a griot. I tell them stories. I get them to sense what their life is about. Not me telling them what their life is, but they sense it. And then will come and talk to me more and more and more. And then I can talk to them about specific things. So that's kind of what it is. Right? So, um, I'm talking to God now. So I'm going to just be quiet and see the three of you, right? Can you pick up God's love? Can you feel it? I'm radiating it right now. Can you feel it? Those who watch this later, like this morning, there's only one person I think watched it live, but 9 other people watched it. So I know most of you watch it after it's not live anymore. So let's see if you, those who watch it when it's not live, can feel this love. And those 3 of you who are watching it right now, let's see if you can feel it inside of yourself. And tell me on the chat here what you're feeling. Okay. Anybody feel anything? Can we get that? Swear again. And I'm going to do it again, right? Talk to God some more. Oh, who's this? Oh, it's the Rev. Hey, handsome. What's shaking?
Hey, what's going on, Al?
Oh, we're live on the chat and we're talking to God.
You're on the God Squad today? Wonderful.
Yep. Because, I'm in a place where I wanted to be. I set myself up here. It cost me $106 a year in rent to stay in the deep green, right?
Right.
Which is something I can afford. And now all these cockroaches are bullying me to get out of here, right? And so God said, don't worry about it. I got you back on all of this. You focus on bringing my love to them. You don't worry. You don't try and do anything that, oh, what can I do? No, I got it covered. You just be my love. You just be my son's forgiveness. You do that. So that's what I'm doing.
Are you going to have a Woodstock up there?
I don't know. God is going to tell me what to do, not me. I have no idea.
Well, how are they trying to pressure you out, Al?
Oh, one guy says he's going to do legal shit because I'm not doing it by the covenant. Well, there's no fucking covenant here, The other guy just, I stop he puts shit in front of my driveway. I stop my car to pick it up and he screams at me, you can't park in the road. And then he parks right in front of my driveway with his, stereo blasting and smokes cigarettes down there. So because his wife doesn't want him to smoke. So anyway, it's, stuff like that. And he is unconscious, right? And the other thing is his father, King Cockroach, is showing up and he wants to buy me out. And he was saying, so I'm going to move into your garage and you can't come up here. I'm going to put in an electric meter. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say blah, 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 blah. I said, wait a minute. We haven't even signed anything. You can't do anything. And, it took me a lot to kept saying, there is no sale. I'm not selling. forget about buying this place, but it took me a week of me saying that to him, whether he's, and they say, okay, I don't have to buy your place. I said, that's right. And I don't have to sell it. But if we can get along, maybe we can. Because in reality, the bottom line is I'll sell it to the best deal I can make and get out of here and go do what God wants me to do.
Sounds like a plan, Al.
I'm not going to bother with any of this bullshit, because it's not just here. This whole neck of the woods is being turned into a cesspool. All the trees are dying. All the animals have left.
That's horrible.
I mean, it's not just horrible. It's biblical, and no one notices it.
No bees, no insects, no plants, no life.
Yeah, no life.
Well, the entire country has been so shaken up with this pandemic mass migration.
But that's just one. That's not the be end and all of it. That's just one thing.
One chapter.
Not even a chapter. One paragraph. It's not. Because the real deal, buddy, is the not the real deal. One of the things that you think the pandemic was unbelievable. Wait till digital money, and digital money isn't Bitcoin. That's a whole different thing, and they're getting rid of that because it's semi-protected. What it is going to be what China has. We have a credit score. They're going to have a social score. Everyone's going to have to wear a little band on their head so they can read your brain waves and have a TV and a microphone right there. And if you're being a good citizen, man, you'll be able to have whatever you want. If you're not, you won't have anything.
So AI is basically the mark of the beast and the Antichrist.
Pretty much, but it always has been, right? And the other side of the coin is, so I've been reading my Bible a lot, and one thing I realize is that end times we've always been in end times. When we walked out of the garden, that was end times. It was the end of the garden times, right? It was the beginning of the sandbox times, right? And every 60,000 years to a million years, we get an opportunity when God and Christ come closer and closer to our hearts and our consciousnesses, where we could, just with a snap of the fingers, turn into love's co-creation. And that's what the Bible asks us to be, right? And it's no big battle, war, blah, blah, blah. No, because the 900 years of the Dark Ages, that was pretty bad. When the Tower of Babel came down, that was almost a million years of everyone beyond suffering. The Jews in the desert for 40 years, all of this stuff. There is no. It's not a race, and we're heading for a finish line. We have to come out of this. Everyone, every spirit, every soul. Is all our relations, and we have to step out of the sandbox together to the next iteration of spiritual growth. So there's no, them and us, bad guys, evil, pandemic, blah, 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 right? Because it's, that, like I said, that was like just one letter of a paragraph. That was no big deal. It's going to get, and where it's all headed is, Gene Roddenberry, right? He got that show, Star Trek, there because what it did was it put the idea of what, everyone's kumbaya in a, this, we're all part of a team. No, that's continuation of that's a fascist. When you look at Star Trek, that's a fascist political state. There is no real. Yeah, you can have light beer or dark beer. You can drink, vodka or this, or you can have this job or that job, or do this or do that. You can be a painter, a musician. You can do all those kind of things, but you're still serving the federation. You know,
I thought this was all about giving everyone a cell phone.
no, no, no. That's just a toy.
It's just a toy.
Yep.
Well, what is your other theme today with your talk show?
What was what?
Your theme for the talk show. You're talking about bringing light to this neck of the woods, and
Love is all
conflict
there
you have
is.
with your
Love
neighbors.
is all there is.
and you're loving on these people, and they don't get it.
Right, and well, they get it. It affects them, you know. But whether it's I can't hold their hand. They have to pick it up, like me. I can go. Ooh, what can I do? I'm gonna No, I can. I have to constantly listen to God saying, "Hey, hey, moron, wake up, wake up." Oh, yeah, yeah. What do you want, Lord? Don't worry about anything. I got your back. You just keep spreading the love. Okay, okay. I can. That's something I can do.
That's all that can be done.
Yep, that's my what I'm here to do. So that's what I'm doing.
Now, why is everyone coming to Tennessee? Is that the number one state where people unpack when they flee the West Coast? Why is Tennessee number one or Florida's number one?
Well,
What's going on?
it's like anything else. At some point, why did everyone go to California in the from the 1890s to the 1990s? It was Jeb Clampett. It's the place you ought to be. I mean, he was in Tennessee. He went from Tennessee to. I mean, he was basically right where I'm at. I'm in the most squirrely place. If I was a big spider, I could have leg in three states. I'm right on the corner of Tennessee, Virginia, and North Carolina, right? And Kentucky and West Virginia just above me. So this area back in the day was the Silicon Valley of its time between the 1890s and 1970. This is where plastics was invented. That's why Kodak Chemical is here. That's why DuPont is here. Why Monsanto's here. Why Westinghouse, General Electric. That's this whole valley from Blacksburg to Oak Ridge, Tennessee. That's why they put Oak Ridge, Tennessee there. Why did they put it out in the middle there? Because there were all these little research facilities of these large corporations here because of the water that was here and the power that was here, the TVA, and that there were all these little towns that had real exotic minerals in them.
What's the population of this place?
Well, when I got here, what I call the three counties, like I said, I'm right on these three borders. So we had 19,000 people of holler folk, meaning there are 8 families of 19,000, right? Today, there are 3,000 of them, between, 2003 and now, 16,000 have died. They didn't move, they died, right? Because their lifestyle was destroyed on them. And what's moving in are these people where they're buying up these lots to put their mega mansions, and they're not going to live here.
Well, they have no desire to live there full time.
Right. Because they'd have to come here and enjoy nature and read books and listen to music rather than rushing around. And that's all the Colonel Sanders does. He just rushes around. He never slows down at all.
Wow.
And all those people are coming in and they're ruining all the roads were built for small truck farmers. And all these gigantic trucks with stone concrete have destroyed the roads in the last 3 years. And the county isn't doing anything about it.
The county's pretty poor, isn't it?
Well, no, it's more like a feudal state.